Today let's start with chapter number 16, that is new empire and kingdom. So in this chapter I will tell you about some new empires and different kingdoms. So let's study about the Guptas first. So by the beginning of 4th century, आप देखेंगे कि जो गुप्ता पीरियड है, गुप्ता डायनेस्टी है, इट्स केम टू पावर इन नॉर्थ इंडिया एंड रूल फॉर नेक्स्ट 200 ईयर. और अगले 200 साल के लिए उन्होंने क्या करा, रूल करा. दिस ग्लोरियस रूल ऑफ गुप्ता इज जनरली रेफर्स टू एज गोल्डन एज ऑफ इंडियन हिस्ट्री. So we get lot of information about Gupta period through coins, inscriptions, monuments and literature obviously. The Gupta rulers were great conqueror and good administrator. What they checked the invasion of the foreign tribes. वो देखते थे कि जो इन्वेजन हो रहा है फॉरेन ट्राइब्स का, एस्टेब्लिशमेंट ऑफ पीस एंड पॉलिटिकल स्टेबिलिटी, ठीक है. और क्या लिखते थे, एस्टेब्लिशमेंट ऑफ पॉलिटिकल पीस एंड स्टेबिलिटी. नाउ चंद्रगुप्त फर्स्ट. जो चंद्रगुप्त फर्स्ट थे, he was the first important ruler of Gupta dynasty. He married to Kumar Devi. She was Licchavi princess, right, which enabled him to gain control over Magad, and his capital was Patliputra. He conquered number of territories and has expanded his kingdom to include Ayodhya and Allahabad. और उसने किसको include करा, Allahabad और Ayodhya. He ruled for 15 years and assumed the title of Maharaja Dhiraj. उन्होंने किसका टाइटल लिया, महाराजा धीराज, राइट. नेक्स्ट इज समुद्रगुप्त. समुद्रगुप्त जो थे, he was Chandragupta first was succeeded by his son Samudragupta in 335 CE. He was one of the greatest ruler of ancient India. मोस्ट ऑफ द इंफॉर्मेशन जो हमें समुद्रगुप्त के बारे में पता चलती है, वो कहाँ से पता चलती है, पिलर इंस्क्रिप्शन एट प्रयागराज, which is composed in his honor by a court poet Haris. This kind of writing is called prashasti, which means in praise of. So prashasti कहते हैं means in praise of. The inscription tells us about the achievement of the Samudragupta. It mentions a list of rulers he defeated and the territories he conquered. जो रूलर्स को उसने डिफीट करा या जो टेरिटरीज ने कॉन्कर करी है, वो सब इसमें इंक्लूडेड है. Samudragupta defeated 9 kings in the north and 12 kings to the south and eastern Delhi, right? So the rulers of some Himalayan state like Nepal, Bengal, Assam accepted the power, and what he did, he paid his tribute, and he also brought forest kingdoms of central India under the country. And Samudragupta did not annex the southern territory because वो realized that it was not easy to control vast empire. कि जो इतना बड़ा एम्पायर है मगर का, इसको कंट्रोल करना बहुत ही मुश्किल है. सो व्हाट हैपेंड, तो सम ऑफ द रूलर जो आउटसाइड इंडिया से आए थे, जैसे आपके श्रीलंका का शाका कुशान रूलर हु वर रूलिंग इन अफगानिस्तान, व्हाट दे डिड, दे आल्सो एक्सेप्टेड हिज सुपरमेसी. उन्होंने क्या करा, सुपरमेसी को एक्सेप्ट करा इन एडिशन टू पेइंग ट्रिब्यूट्स इन द फॉर्म ऑफ गोल्ड और सिल्वर टोकन. और उन्होंने ट्रिब्यूट किस फॉर्म में पे करा, गोल्ड और सिल्वर टोकन्स. एंड व्हाट दे ऑफर्ड, दे टू मेनी ऑफ देयर डॉलर, राइट. एंड समुद्रगुप्त जो थे, उन्होंने अपनी जो ये विक्ट्री है उसको सेलिब्रेट करा, और इन्होंने क्या परफॉर्म करता, अश्वमेध यज्ञ. ही टुक द टाइटल ऑफ महाराजा धीराज. ही वाज द ओनली मिलिटरी जीनियस एंड वाज अ ग्रेट लवर ऑफ पोएट्री एंड म्यूजिक. नाउ रीड दिस लाइन 17 फ्रॉम Allahabad inscription. So who was skillful in engaging in a husband's battles of various kind, because all was the powers of the strength, and the most charming body was covered over with the beauty of the marks. So here it was called by blow of battlements, arrows, spears, spikes, barbed darts, right? And what are some of the quantities that we have to write? Now Chandragupta II, he was succeeded by Samudragupta, and he was also a powerful ruler who took the title of Vikramaditya. इन्होंने किसका टाइटल लिया, विक्रमादित्य का. During his reign, Gupta Empire reached the height of what? His glory. Then we can say Chandragupta Vikramaditya expanded his kingdom through matrimonial alliances and conquests, and he married Naga princess and married his daughter Vatkala ruler in Deccan. And what, he defeated the Saka ruler of Gujarat, Malwa and Swaraj. ठीक है, इन्होंने क्या करा, गुजरात, मालवा और स्वराज जैसे रीजन में. Now the courts in Western India came under his control. His capital continued to be Patliputra, and he established a second capital at Ujjain. और उन्होंने दूसरी capital establish करी कहाँ पे, उज्जैन. He was a great patron of art and literature. 9 gems never including Kalidas, the greatest poet, and Mahavir, the greatest astronomer and scientist. They were associated with this region. 5 scientists travel who visited India during this time has left behind account of his kingdom. और जो आपकी Comparative history design was reflected in the beautiful gold coins issued by him. So the Gupta Empire declined in the middle of 16th century, right? And they could not protect the empire from the invasion of Huns of Central Asia. With the decline of Gupta Empire, देखो जैसे ही क्या हुआ Gupta Empire का decline होने लगा, small kingdoms आने लगे, right? And these kingdoms constantly at war with another. In the 7th century, we can say that Harshvardhan, जो कौन थे आपके king of Thanishwar, what he brought all the states under the control and established a new unified empire. और उन्होंने एक नया unified empire established. Historians have made a weight information from Prashasti. Harishen जो थे, he described some group policies towards 4 different kinds of rule. First is there are 9 rulers of Aryavarta, and they were conquered by Samudra and their kingdom were made a part of this empire. Then we have Dakshinipad. There are 12 rulers. यहाँ पे 12 रूलर थे यहाँ पर. After defeating them, what happened? जो समुद्र थे, allowed them to rule again and was paid tribute by them. और क्या आप दोबारा करो, उनको tribute दिया गया उसको. A 9th circle of neighboring states, आपके साम कोस्टल जितने भी आपके एरियाज हो गए, बंगाल के, नेपाल के, and घना संगाल in the northwest brought tribute, followed his order and attained his. The ruler of the outer states in the northwest were mostly descendants of Kusan and Sardar. They were the ruler of Sri Lanka, submitted to Samudra and offered Dautara in marriage. Some other qualities of Samudra are shown on coins. He is shown sitting on a high deck chair with veena in his hand. He wrote poetry and was very fond of music. He also had discussion with scholars. उन्होंने क्या करा था? जो scholars थे उसके साथ discussion भी करा. Now the gate of Guptas. Most Prashastis also mentioned the line of descendant. Rule traced from minister. The Prayag Prashasti mentions Samudra's great fathers, grandfathers, and mother. So his mother Kumra Devi belonged to the Lichavi Gana, and his father was Chandragupta first. What he did, he extended his empire. इन्होंने अपने empire को extend करा to Prayag and adopted grand title of Maharaja Viraj. And the Prashasti mentioned his great grandfather and grandfather simply as Maharaja. It shows that the rule था आपका dynasty का, it gradually extended. ये gradually क्या हो रहा था? Extend हो रहा था. So Samudra's second son Chandragupta II succeeded him. We know him, his inscription and coin. His first expedition led to conquest of West India, Malwa, Gujarat, and Saurashtra. There he overcome the last of the Shakas, and then what happened? जो trade था, आप देखेंगे, it was carried through the port of what? Western India, जैसे आपका Bharuch, Cambay और Shopar. He also conquered Bengal, chiefdoms, and he established second capital at Ujjain. The second capital थी वो कहाँ establish करी थी? Ujjain. It took the title of Vikramaditya, means like son of power, and he took a title after driving Shakas out of Ujjain. Other part of Shakas regarded him as Shakari, the enemies of Shaka. Despite many wars, his design is remembered in the achievement of literature, culture, art, and science. So, according to later belief, the court tha, it was full of learned people, including Kalidas, poet Aryabhata, and Patliputra, Prayag, and Ujjain. They are the important centers of the Gupta rule. It is important centers. Then we have Harshvardhan and Harshvardhan. So we can say that inscriptions and coins, they are the important source of information. Biographies and travelers accounts of pilgrims can also be important source. Bhanagata, the quote poet King Harshvardhan wrote in biography 1400 years ago. The biography means Harshcharita is written in Sanskrit, and the Chinese pilgrim was Wang Zhang. What happened? He visited India during the reign of Harshvardhan. He spent many years in the court of Harsha. He wrote a detailed account of what he saw. जो उन्होंने देखा उसके बारे में वो detailed account लिखते हैं, right? And Harsha became the king of Thanishwar. King of Thanishwar only after both his father and elder brother died. So his sister was married to the ruler of Kannauj. The ruler थी Kannauj की जो उनकी शादी हुई, and many rulers wanted to conquer Kannauj, and the Bengal killed the brother-in-law of Harsha. And उन्होंने किसको conquer करा? He conquered Kannauj. It took over kingdom of Kannauj, and this led to an army against ruler of Bengal. So what happened? They extended their strong empire in Punjab, Kashmir, Nepal in the north to the river Narmada in the south. He tried to cross the Narmada, crossed to march into the Deccan, but stopped by a ruler belonging to चालुक्य डायनेस्टी। और कौन सा था वो? पुलकेशिन सेकंड। Harsha ruled from capital at Kannauj. It was located in the agriculture region of Western Gangetic Plain. ये कल्चरल सेंटर था। अगर हम ह्यूआन सांग की बात करें, अकॉर्डिंग टू टेस्टोनॉमी, Harsha was a hardworking, intelligent, and beloved ruler. Right? So Zhu Fang, while paying his tribute to Harsha pity and industry, what he says, he forgets sleep and food in the devotion to good work. कि मैंने खाना पीना सब भूल गया in the devotion of good work. So then we have Pallavas, Chalukyas and Pulkeshin, and then your Prasasti. The new power rose in the south. There were Pallavas of Kachi, Chalukyas of Badami, and Pandyas of Madurai. And all of these rose into prominence in 6th century and fought each other to plunder and speed and territorial resources. So the Pallava kingdom was notable kingdom in the south. They came to power after the fall of Andhra Pradesh. ठीक है, ये क्या हुआ? जैसे फॉल हुआ किंगडम का, they came to power and it comprised of territory of Madras, Andhra, Arcot, Tanjore, Trichypuri, Kanchipuram और आपकी Kachipuram, ये दोनों कैपिटल है. It was great center of Vedic learning. The early rulers of Pallavas engaged in battles. ये पांड्यास के साथ बैटल में engaged थे. And the description of Jain temple जो हॉल में था, वो किसकी कैपिटल थी? आपकी चालुक्यास की. और वो आपको क्या प्रोवाइड करती थी? एन आइडिया अबाउट द हिस्ट्री ऑफ चालुक्य रूलर. और जो हॉल थी, इट वाज एन इंपॉर्टेंट ट्रेडिंग सेंटर बिसाइड इट डेवलप्ड एज अ रिलीजियस सेंटर. और एक रिलीजियस सेंटर भी बना. नाउ द टेंपल बिल्डिंग of both Chalukyas and Pallavas remain unabated. In fact, the interaction greatly influenced the art and architecture of the two buildings. और जो बेस्ट नोन चालुक्य रूलर था, अकॉर्डिंग टू द इंस्क्रिप्शन ऑफ जैन टेंपल एट ऑल, दे वर जनसिम्हा, राणा राजा, कीर्तिवर्मन, राइट, और आपका पुलकेशिन फर्स्ट एंड सेकंड, and it is regarded as the founder of his dynasty on account and also performed Ashwamedha and other ceremonies. और जो मोस्ट फेमस रूलर था वो was पुलकेशिन सेकंड, and he proclaimed himself king in 2609 after killing whom? Maghlesha in a civil war. According to the Ravi Kirti, he undertook many expeditions. जो आपके नेबरिंग पल्लवा किंगडम थे, उन पे बहुत सारे एक्सपीडिशन करे इन्होंने, and that also being ruled by Mahendravarman. He inflicted a defeat that glorious Sri Harsha. Harsha means happiness, and the poet says that after his defeat, Harsha was no longer Harsha. Therefore, the Pulkeshin second king, what he did, he concentrated to conquest in the east and south, and also attacked Pallava king Mahendravarman. जो माइनर कॉन्फ्लिक्ट्स थे वो कंटिन्यू रहे till the end of 17th century. Therefore, Chalukya victory was short-lived and Pallava power was greatly destroyed. और जो Chalukyas थे, they themselves fell before the growing power of Rashtrakuta and Chola dynasty. Now, Pulkeshin Prashasti. Ravi Kirti, the court poet of Pulkeshin II, composed a Prashasti of him. This tells us about his ancestors' fourth generation and kingdom for his uncle. He led to the expedition along the both west and the east coast, and besides, he checked advance of Harsha. So, in the words of Ravi Kirti, if I talk about, after his defeat, जो Harsha भी, he was no longer a Harsha, Pulkeshin II, and also attacked Pallava king, who took a shelter behind the walls of what? Kachip. So, Pulkeshin II extended the Chalukya empire up to Konkan, Goa, and Malwa. And what he did, he defeated the most important Pallava king Mahendravarman, but was later defeated by his son Narasimha. And both the Pallavas and Chalukya gave to new rule of Rashtrakuta and Chola dynasty. Now, administration to the new empire. So, the village was the basic unit of administration and land revenue and was the chief source of income. Empire जो हमारा provinces में divide था, that is देश, राष्ट्र और आपका मुल्क. The princes were appointed as viceroy and they took title of Upadika, Maharaja in Gupta Empire, and each province was divided into number of districts. जो हर एक province था वो district में divided था, and each village has a head जिसका नाम था ग्राम, right? And some important schools were hereditary. देखो एक कुछ post ऐसी थी जो hereditary थी, मतलब father के बाद उसका बेटा, फिर बेटे के बाद उसका बेटा, ठीक है? One person could hold many offices. Harsha was not only a Maharaja but also Kumara Makya. कुछ important ministers होते थे उस time. ठीक है, एंड संधि विग्रहिका मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ वॉर एंड पीस, important men who got power either economically or socially. What they say in local administration, they include Nagra Srishti and the Satvaha elder of merchants Karwan and your Parthama. These are the different rulers. A new kind of army. अब आप देखेंगे एक नई kind of army with different infantry came है. It consists of infantry of foot soldiers, cavalry means आपके horse riders थे, chariots थे, elephants थे, and the soldiers and the officers had their rank, and they were paid a regular salary. There were Samantas who were military leaders जो किंग को troops provide करते थे at the time of war. These Samantas were not paid regular salary, they were given lands to collect revenue. इनको land दिए जाते हैं different कि आप जाके और क्या कर सकते हो, revenue collect कर सकते हो. The revenue to maintain soldiers and horses, provide weapons and other equipment. Gradually, what happened? The Samantas थे वो strong हो रहे थे and established the independent kingdom. Local assembly in southern kingdom. So जो Pallavas थे, what they did? They introduced efficient system of administration starting from village level. So the local assembly thing happening, that is landowners, they was called Sabha, and this assembly or the village council, they function through sub-committees. So each committee, what it's do? It's look after a special type like irrigation, making roads, local temples or other affairs. Right? The local assembly of village were the landowners, they were not Brahmins, they were called. And in the towns, the Nagaram, there was a what organization of a member, organization of merchants. There were other local assemblies who depend करती थी upon the population of the village or the town. जो कौन control करता था, that is controlled by rich and powerful landowners and merchants. They continue to function hundreds of years ago. Right? The life of ordinary people. Now there were no major social conflict as most people respected ruler and his official out of fear of poverty. The most famous Sanskrit writer of this period was Kalidas, that depicts in the play in the life of the people and life in the king's. So in his play, the king tha, and the most Brahmins were shown as speaking Sanskrit while other Angles practiced. So we find an interesting description of a travel of a poor fisherman, that is Abhijanan Shakuntala. ये एक play था. Now the Chinese pilgrim found that the most people were honest and very simple. वो बताते थे Chinese pilgrim कि लोग बहुत honest थे, सच्चे थे और बहुत simple life थे. And there were big houses made of bricks, and the people lived in a thatched house. जो किसका बना हुआ था? मड का बना. Right? And Bhanabhatta writer of Harishad gave clear accounts of the plight of the common people when the king travels. Now in the other parts of the world, so around 1400 years, Prophet Muhammad introduced a new religion. जिसका नाम था Islam in Arabia. He stressed on the equality and unity of all before Allah as a one supreme God. He appealed at charity, fast, chastity, and pagan. Later he conquered Makkah, and his successor was known as Khalid. Within 100 years, Islam spread to North Africa, Spain, Iraq, Iran, and India. और जो अरब merchants और आपके sailors थे, who were familiar with the coastal settlement, what they did? They brought new religion with them. वो अपने साथ नया religion. Right? This is all in this chapter. Now we will do the exercise. Now take the correct option. So first is capital of Pallavas is Ahon. Chandragupta II took the title of Vikramaditya. Hariseth composed a process in praise of Samudra. The second capital of Chandragupta II is Ujjain. Now fill in the blanks. Chandragupta married a Lalchavi princess Kumar Devi to enhance his position. Now, the famous poet and playwright Kalidas was known as the Indian Death. The famous poet and playwright Kalidas was known as an Indian. Shakespeare. The Dash was a famous astronomer and mathematician at Gupta period. The language of Gupta period was now We will do with true and false. Takshila and Madurai were the important centers of Gupta. False. Ahol was the capital of Pallavas. False. Local assemblies have functioned hundreds of years in Southeast India. It's true. There were 12 rulers in Dakshinipat. Yes, true. Now Shri Gupta, match the following, was the founder of Gupta dynasty. Kalidas, famous Sanskrit Fayan, was a Chinese traveler. Gupta ruled over India from 320 to 540 BC. Prashasti, that is Ravi Kirti, or Chandru, that is Maharavidha. Now answer the following. Describe the achievement of हर्षवर्धन. आपको हर्षवर्धन के achievement बताने, यहाँ पे आपको चंद्रगुप्त सेकंड के achievements बताने, and describe how Samudra treated the ruler of conquered territory differently, and how were South Indian kingdoms administration, what were the new administrative arrangements during the Gupta period, right? What was the extension of Pallava kingdom and Chanakya kingdom, what post Harijan held in Samudra period, quote, and what are the sources of information for the Gupta period. Sources of information क्या थे Gupta period के time, that you have to learn, right? This is all in this chapter. Hope you understood. Now we will meet in the next class. That's all for today. Thank you.